The hospital finally told me I was ready to go home after my hip surgery. I should have felt relieved, but I was nervous. I was 72 years old, still weak, and I knew I would need help during my recovery. Thankfully, I had 4 children. Before my surgery, all 4 of them promised they would take turns caring for me. They told me I would never have to recover alone. I believed them. But for 15 long days, I stayed in that hospital room, staring at the empty chair beside my bed. Every phone call went unanswered. Every promise was forgotten. The only person who never forgot about me was a kind nurse named Holly. She checked on me, talked to me, and treated me with genuine kindness. When the hospital finally cleared me to leave, Holly helped me put on my coat. She asked if one of my children was coming to pick me up. I smiled and told her I could manage. She offered to call a taxi, but I ordered an Uber myself. At 72, I walked out of the hospital alone. When I reached home, the silence felt worse than the hospital. I opened the refrigerator and froze. There was only a bottle of water, an old lemon, and a little butter. My children had not only abandoned me at the hospital, they had not even thought about whether I would have food waiting when I came home. I sat at the kitchen table and thought about everything I had done for them. My oldest son, Brent, had borrowed thousands of dollars from me. My daughter, Nicole, had delayed months of rent on one of my apartments. I had paid for Trevor's expensive health insurance for years, and I was still sending Austin money every month, even though he was already a grown man. I had spent decades putting their needs before my own. That was when I remembered an old black notebook my late husband, Raymond, and I had used to keep track of our finances. I opened it. Every loan, unpaid rent payment, and monthly allowance was written inside. Looking at those pages made me realize something painful. My children had become used to my help. They believed I would always forgive them. They believed I would always pay their bills. And they believed I would always be there, no matter how they treated me. That afternoon, I called Raymond's trusted attorney, Charles Bennett. I told him I wanted to review my estate and change my will. When Charles arrived, he reminded me about something I had almost forgotten. The land beneath our old rental apartments had become extremely valuable. Developers were offering more than $20 million for it. I was stunned. My children thought I was simply an elderly widow living on a modest income. They had no idea I was sitting on a fortune. So I decided to invite all 4 of them to dinner. I wanted to discover what they really wanted from me. When they arrived, they acted concerned about my recovery. But soon, they began suggesting that I move into a retirement home. Then they said they should help control my finances because they believed I was no longer capable of making good decisions. I listened quietly. Then Charles walked through the door. I opened my notebook and read every unpaid debt aloud. Brent's loans, Nicole's unpaid rent, Trevor's insurance, Austin's monthly payments. Then Charles placed the property appraisal on the table. When my children learned the land was worth more than $20 million, their entire attitude changed. Suddenly they were sorry. Suddenly they loved me. Suddenly they promised to take care of me. But I finally understood the truth. They were not afraid of losing their mother. They were afraid of losing the fortune they expected to inherit. So I calmly told them that the money they had been receiving was finished. My will had been changed. Their financial privileges were over. After they left, I looked at the untouched dinner on the table. Then I called Holly. She came with her husband and children, and together we shared the meal. Their laughter filled my home with warmth. That night I realized something important. Family is not always about blood. Sometimes, the people who truly care are the ones who simply show up when you need them. I eventually sold the property and created the Raymond and Lorraine Foundation to help elderly people who had been forgotten by their families. Those 15 lonely days in the hospital changed my life. They taught me that loving your children does not mean allowing them to use you. Sometimes the strongest thing you can say is no. And sometimes the most painful chapter of your life can become the beginning of a completely new one.